Very good morning to all of you, my friends. Welcome back after a long break. I hope you guys are doing good. Further, I hope you guys have solved all the questions relating to material costing. Further, I think you are thorough with labor and overheads also. So today I'll be starting with the new chapter, that is activity-based costing. Thank you, everyone. Very good morning to all of you guys. So let's start with the new chapter, that is activity-based costing from examination point of view. Yes, the chapter is very important. Examiner do ask question quite frequently on this chapter. So let's start with this chapter, activity-based costing. Now, this chapter, activity-based costing, is in continuation of the chapter what you have already studied, that is overhead. So, assuming you guys are thorough with the concepts of overhead, let's start with this chapter. Now, what we used to do in overheads, what you guys learned in overheads is, let's say these are the overheads that are incurred as a whole. We call it as rent, depreciation, electricity, maintenance. So since the overheads are incurred as a whole, what we used to do, we used to first allocate the overhead or apportion the overhead among the various production department and the service department. This is what you guys have learned. Let's say there are three production department, P1, P2, P3, and let's say two service department. S1 and S2. So what you guys learned, that you guys used to distribute the overheads to the various production department and various service department. Either allocation or apportionment, whatever it is. So this is how you guys use. No units are manufactured in service department. Service department में कोई units manufacture नहीं होते थे, तो आप लोग क्या करते थे कि used to go for secondary distribution, wherein all the overheads of the service department are redistributed to the production department. Now, after redistribution, we used to get the final figure, that is the total overheads of the production department. Now, after calculating the total overheads, we used to identify the basis of absorption, that is it can be either on the basis of machine hours or labor hours or on the basis of prime cost. And after identifying the basis of absorption, we used to calculate the absorption rate. And once that absorption rate is calculated, we used to charge these overheads of various production department to a particular product or to a particular job to calculate the total cost. So this was the process what you guys used to follow in overheads. So this was the process what you used to follow in overheads. First, allocation, apportionment of overheads among the various production department. Thereafter, second thing, reapportionment of service overheads department to the production department. Now, once we are ready with the final figures, that is the total overheads of production department, we used to identify the basis of absorption. The basis of absorption can be either on the basis of machine hours or on the basis of labor hours or on the basis of percentage of prime cost, or maybe your labor cost, whatever it is. So we used to identify the basis of absorption, and after identifying the basis of absorption, we used to get the final absorption rate, and that rate was used to charge the overheads of these three production departments to a particular product or to a particular job to calculate the total cost. So this was the process what you have learned in overheads. Now, activity-based costing says that this process of calculating the cost, that is this process of absorption of overhead and calculating the total cost, is incorrect. I have a better approach. Activity-based costing कहता है कि ये जो process है ये गलत है. I have a better approach. Activity, let's say I am absorbing the overheads on the basis of labor hours. So activity-based costing says that how can you absorb all the overheads on the basis of labor hours? आप सारे के सारे overheads जो है एक ही basis पे कैसे absorb कर सकते हैं? See, rent has nothing to do with labor hours. So rent आप labor hours basis पे कैसे absorb कर सकते हैं? Again, depreciation has nothing to do with labor hours. Further, electricity also has nothing to do with labor hours. Still, you are absorbing the overheads on the basis of labor hours. So this approach is incorrect. I have a better approach. So what activity-based costing says? Activity-based costing says that I have a different and a better approach. Now, what activity-based costing says that instead of absorbing all the overheads using one basis, सारे overheads को एक ही basis पे absorb करने की बजाय, instead of absorbing all the overheads on a single basis, what you guys have to do? First, identify the various activities of the organization. Identify the various activities of the organization. Activity-based costing says, I repeat again, कि आप एक साथ सारे overheads एक ही basis पे कैसे absorb कर सकते हैं? This approach is incorrect. I have a better approach wherein it says identify the various activities of the organization. Organization की जो है आप क्या कीजिए? Various activities आप identify कीजिए. 1 second. So it can be related to machine. So we can say machining can be an activity. Setup cost can be an activity. Inspection can be an activity. Further, assembling cost can be an activity. So activity-based costing says instead of absorbing all the overheads on a single basis, what you guys have to do? First, identify the activities of the organization. Now, second point, it says whatever the costs that are incurred relating to a particular activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. Further, it says कि इस activity के related सारी cost जो है, जो भी cost incur हुई है, उसकी total लगाइए and we call it as cost pool. So whatever the cost that are related to an activity, so ये activity के related जितनी भी cost है, उसको इकट्ठा कीजिए और उसको क्या बोलते हैं हम लोग? Cost pool. So whatever the costs that are incurred relating to an activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. सीधी और आसान भाषा में सारे ओवरहेड्स एक ही बेसिस पे अब्सॉर्ब करने की बजाय आप क्या कीजिए? वेरियस एक्टिविटीज आइडेंटिफाई कीजिए और हर एक्टिविटी की कॉस्ट निकाल लीजिए कि ये एक्टिविटी के रिलेटेड कितना खर्चा हुआ, ये एक्टिविटी के रिलेटेड कितना खर्चा हुआ ना. So we are ready with the total cost. That is, ये एक्टिविटी का इतना खर्चा हुआ, ये एक्टिविटी का इतना खर्चा हुआ, ये एक्टिविटी का इतना खर्चा हुआ, ये एक्टिविटी का इतना खर्चा हुआ. Now, for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. हर एक्टिविटी का एक सेपरेट बेसिस होगा absorption का. We call it as cost driver. For every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. Now, once we have the activity, the total amount, the basis of absorption, we can easily calculate the absorption rate. So first thing what you have to do, सारी एक्टिविटीज आइडेंटिफाई कीजिए, हर एक्टिविटी का कितना कॉस्ट लगा वो आप कैलकुलेट कीजिए. देयर आफ्टर हर एक्टिविटी का एक सेपरेट बेसिस होगा अब्जॉर्प्शन का, वो आइडेंटिफाई कीजिए, and accordingly you can easily calculate the absorption rate. So for every activity there will be a separate basis of absorption. In traditional costing or in overheads हम लोग क्या करते थे, total overhead divided by only one basis of absorption. But activity based costing says that identify the various activity, and for every activity there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. So this is all what about concept of activity based costing. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your queries. Yes, everyone. Good morning. Tanvi, I hope it is clear. Pavan Kumar, Rohan Sahu. Yes, you can solve the question using absorption costing. That is what you have learned in overheads and activity based costing. So anyone having any doubts, guys? Tanvi, any doubts? Pavan Kumar? Bharat, Divya? Anyone having any doubts? Ananya? Gayatri, Gurmeet, Ritik, Isha? Julie saying, Meenu, anyone having any doubts, guys? So now let's differentiate the traditional approach. What we learned in overheads. When talking about traditional approach, we call it as what we learned in overhead. Overhead में हमने क्या सीखा था? That is total overheads divided by basis of absorption. When talking about the basis of absorption, it can be either on the basis of labor hours, or we can say machine hours, or it can be on the basis of prime cost, or it can be on the basis of material cost. So this is what we used to do in overheads, that is calculate the total overhead divided by only one basis of absorption. But whereas in activity based costing, it says I have a better approach. What activity based costing says that first identify the activities of the organization. First identify the various activities of the organization. Thereafter, what you have to do, whatever the costs that are incurred relating to an activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. So, whatever the costs that are related to an activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. So first identify the various activities of the organization. Now, whatever the costs that are relating to a particular activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. Now, thereafter, for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. So for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption known as cost pool. Sorry, cost driver. For every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. Now, once the cost driver is identified, we will calculate the absorption rate for every activity. So we will calculate the absorption rate for every activity. So first identify the various activities of the organization. Whatever the costs that are relating to an activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. For every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption known as cost driver. And once the cost driver is identified, we will calculate the absorption rate for every activity. And that absorption rate will be applied to a particular product or to a particular job to calculate the total cost. So, absorption rate will be used to charge the overheads to a product to calculate total. So that absorption rate will be used to charge the overheads to a product to calculate the total cost. So this is all what about activity-based costing. I repeat again, guys, when talking about the traditional costing, this is what we have learned in traditional costing. That is total overheads divided by only one basis of absorption. It can be labor hours, machine hours, prime cost or material cost. But when talking about activity-based costing, it says first identify the various activities. आप various activities identify कीजिए. Whatever the costs that are related to a particular activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. Third thing, for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. Cost driver क्या होता है? The basis of absorption of overhead. Now, once the cost driver is ready, we can calculate the absorption rate for every activity, and that absorption rate will be used to charge the overheads to a particular product to calculate the total cost. If you guys have any doubts, okay, Shivam, let me complete the explanation first. Now see, when talking about the practical question point of view, these what all activities are there of an organization, it will be given in the question. Whatever the various activities of the organization, be it setup related cost, be it machining, be it maintenance, be it inspection cost, be it whatever the cost is, that will be given in the question. That these are the whatever the activities are that will be given in the question. So जो भी organization की activity है that will be given in the question. Now further the cost that relating to a particular activity will also be given in the question, that these are the activity and these are the costs that are associated to that activity. The third part, that is the cost driver. Now very important guys, very important, we have to identify the cost driver, that ये activity का ये basis of absorption होगा, ये activity का ये basis of absorption होगा. So this part is the trickiest part, wherein we have to identify the cost driver, that कौन सी activity का कौन सा cost driver होगा. The next point is, this is a simple calculation, and this is also a calculative part. So this is all what the summary of the chapter, wherein activities क्या है question में given होगा. The cost relating to an activity will also be given in the question. But yes, when talking about the cost driver, we have to identify the cost driver. That इस activity का ये cost driver है, using the various hints and information that are given in the question. And once cost driver is identified, we can easily calculate the absorption rate, and that rate is used to charge the overheads to a particular product or to a particular job to calculate the total cost. Everything will be given in the question. I hope Shivam and Priyanka. Okay, Shivam now. Yes, Shivam, we have to take all the activities. The other small expenses will be grouped together in a particular activity, and that information will be given in the question, and it may vary from case to case. Anyone else with any doubts or queries, guys? I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Again, I repeat, guys, whatever the concept part, do try to copy in your notebook. Again, what you will write, you will remember it forever. So, जो भी आप लिखते हैं, वो आप हमेशा याद रखेंगे. So, as far as the concept part is concerned, do write in your notebook. Further, what you have understood also, do write as an explanation in your notebook. So, when you are revising, you will recollect that, okay, this is what Sir taught and this is what I have understood. So do write your comments in your notebook that this is what I have understood. So for your reference, I'll be writing few activities along with their cost drivers. So we can say machining can be an activity, or we can say machine maintenance. When talking about the cost driver, it is generally machine hours, setup cost can be an activity, that is whatever the costs that are associated with setting up. So setup cost can be an activity. So when talking about setup cost, the basis of absorption can be the number of setups, or we can say number of batches, or it can be number of production runs also. So first priority will be given to the number of setups, and if number of setups are not available, then number of production run can be the basis of absorption for setup cost. Thereafter, we can say inspection can be an activity. Again, number of inspection will be given in the question. If not, then again we have to identify the most suitable basis of absorption. So it can be on the basis of number of purchase orders also. So you have to identify the basis of absorption. Then assembling cost can be an activity. So the basis of absorption can be the number of parts, etc., etc. So these are the few examples. Again, the basis of absorption may vary from question to question. So some questions straight away, the activity and the basis of absorption, that this is the activity and this will be the basis of absorption. So there are few questions wherein straight away question में activity और उसका basis of absorption given होगा. But there are certain questions wherein we have to use our brains and do some exercise and identify the basis of absorption for every activity. So we'll be discussing few practical questions in this session and in coming session for better understanding, how to calculate the absorption rate and all. So those who want to copy this explanation can please copy. When talking about the setup cost, the basis of absorption will be the number of setups. See, generally, units are manufactured in batches, and for every batch, for every production or every batches, we have to create a separate setup. So that's why the setup cost is incurred. So now the concept part is over. There are not, this much is the concept part in this chapter. So we'll be focusing more on the practical part now. So the concepts are over. So let's start with few practical problems. I'll be discussing the questions from study material in today's session. So let's start with illustration number 1. The page number is 5.14. So I request you guys to please open your study material. I'll be starting with illustration number 1. Number of production runs I have written Rohan Sao. The first priority will be given to the number of setups. If the number of setups are given, then it's fine. If the number of setups are not given, then setup cost can be absorbed on the basis of number of production runs. So guys, let's start with illustration number 1, page number 5.14. So ABC Limited is a multi-product company manufacturing 3 products, A, B, and C. So there are 3 products what the company is manufacturing. Further, the budgeted cost and the production for the year ending 31st March are as follows. So when talking about the production quantity, it is given that 4,000 units were manufactured for product A, 3,000 for B, and 1,600 for C. Now, when talking about the resources per unit, see, it's given the direct material that is used for every unit. It is 4 kgs and 6 kgs and 3 kgs respectively for A, B, and C. Further, the direct labor is given, that is in minutes. So the labor, the time that is required to manufacture a unit, it is not given in hours, it is given in minutes. That is 30, 45, and 60 respectively. However, the labor cost is given in hours, that is rupees 10 per hour. So the budgeted direct labor rate is rupees 10 per hour. The budgeted material cost is rupees 2 per kg. Production overheads were budgeted at 99,450 and were absorbed to product using direct labor hour rate. So in traditional costing, what we were doing, to calculate the total cost, we used to calculate the absorption rate of the overheads, and that absorption rate is calculated using direct labor hours. So ABC Limited follow the absorption costing. Now, ABC Limited is now considering to adopt activity-based costing. So till now, they were using traditional costing, that is absorption costing, wherein they were absorbing overheads on the basis of direct labor hours. Now they are planning to switch to activity-based costing. So information is given in the question wherein the various activities are given, that is material handling is an activity, storage cost is an activity, and electricity is an activity. Further, the cost drivers are also given, that material handling का basis of absorption क्या होगा, weight of material handle, storage cost का क्या होगा, number of batches of material, electricity again the number of machine operation. So the activity and the cost driver, that ये activity का ये cost driver होगा, वो भी given है question में. Now again the batches of material it is given in the question. See, the data on the cost driver are as follows. For complete production, the batches of material were 10, 5, and 15. And for per unit of production, the number of machine operations are given, that is 6, 3, and 2. So for every unit, the number of machine operations are given, that is 6, 3, and 2. Now you are required to prepare the statement for the management using the unit cost, prepare a statement for the management showing the unit cost in the total cost of each product using absorption costing. So the first part, what the question is asking us to calculate the cost of the product. See, prepare a statement for the management showing the unit cost and the total cost of each product using absorption costing. So जो अब तक हमने सीखा overheads में, वो question में पूछ रहा है, that is use absorption costing and calculate the cost per unit. So let's start with the first part, then we will read the second and third part. So we will first calculate the absorption rate. Now, when talking about the calculation of absorption rate, that is total overheads divided by basis of absorption. Now, total overheads we have, that is 99,450 divided by basis of absorption, That is what we call as labor hours in this question. Now we don't have the total labor hours. We have to calculate the total labor hours. So we can easily calculate the labor hour. For A, B, and C. For A, one unit requires 30 minutes. एक यूनिट बनाने में 30 मिनट लगता है. So when talking about the production, it is 4,000 units were manufactured. So when talking about the total labor hours, it will be 2,000 hours for A. When talking about B, each unit require 45 minutes. So B, it will be 2250 hours. And for C, it will be 1600 hours. Total 5850 hours. When talking about how come I calculated this 2000, see 4000 units and every unit requires 30 minutes. So we have to convert it into hour. So into 30 divided by 60. So 30 minutes, if you convert it into hour, you have to divide by 60. Again, when talking about B, it is 3000 units. So into 45 minutes divided by 60. Similarly, herein also, it is 1600 units and one unit requires 60 minutes. If we want to convert it into hours divided by 60, so we will get the total hours. So we can now calculate the absorption rate. We have the total overheads. That is 99,450 divided by the hours we have calculated, that is 5850. So it is rupees 17 per labor. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. Those who are over portal can please post your queries, and those who are over Zoom, please post your queries, whatever the queries you are facing, because again, these sessions are conducted for your benefit. So whatever the doubts, whatever the conceptual queries you have in your mind, you guys can straight away ask me. Anyone having any doubts and queries? One second, guys. Edwin sir, are you there? Edwin sir, someone named Ekta is spamming that chat. So आप please उसको ये remove कर देंगे? Because I'm not being able to see the queries because I think she's sending the messages back to back. I can't see the queries. Priyanka, production overhead will always be given in the question. Don't worry. Pawan Kumar, see, I have given the explanation, Pawan. See, 4,000 are the total number of units and one unit require 30 minutes. So when talking about the total minutes, see, so 4,000 units into 30 minutes, that is 1,20,000 minutes. Divided by, if you divide it by 60, you will get an hours. That is 2,000 hours. Bhuma asks, sir, will there be cases where in traditional method we use some other cost driver other than labor hours? See, Bhuma, I think you must have gone through overheads chapter. There are many other bases of absorption. It can be on the basis of labor hours also. It can be on the basis of machine hours also. It can be on the basis of percentage of prime cost or percentage of material cost, or it can be on the basis of number of units also. So you can use either of the ways to absorb the overheads depending upon the information that is given in the question. So now we are done with this part. So we have calculated the absorption rate. So now let's start with the next part, wherein using this absorption rate, we will charge these overheads to these three products A, B, and C and to calculate the total cost. So let's start with this part, guys. Statement of cost. There are three products A, B, and C. Now, when talking about the material cost, see, when talking about the material cost is given that the budgeted material cost is rupees 2 per kg. And the quantity is also given, that is 4 kgs, 6 kgs, and 3 kgs. So when talking about the material cost, it is given how much? Rupees 2 per kg. So 4 into 2, that is 8 rupees. Further, 6 into 2, that is 12. And 3 into 2, that is 6. Edwin sir, few students are on the waiting. अशोक सर, कुछ स्टूडेंट वेटिंग पे दिखा रहे हैं. अब एडमिट, because I am getting that notification. Okay, but if the genuine students want to join, then okay. See, now it's showing 3 people are waiting. 3 people are waiting. ठीक है sir. Okay. Anyways, guys, so we are done with the calculation of absorption rate. So now when talking about the material cost, see, it is given rupees 2 per kg. So the quantity of material, that is 4 kgs, 6 kgs, and 3 kgs. So 4 into 2, 6 into 2, and 3 into 2. When talking about the labor cost, again, the labor cost is given, that is rupees 10 per hour. So rupees 10 per hour. So 10 into 30 divided by 60. Since the cost is given hour per hour, so 10 into 30 divided by 60. 10 into 45 divided by 60. And 10 into 60 divided by 60. So this will be 5. This will be 10. And this will be 7.5. So we have calculated the material cost and labor cost. Now the overheads. Since overheads are absorbed on the basis of labor hours and the overhead absorption rate is rupees 17 per labor hour. So overhead rate is rupees 17 per hour. So again, we can easily calculate the overheads. See, the rate is 17 per hour into 30 divided by 60. Since it is 30 minutes, 17 into. So we can easily calculate the total cost now, that is 8 plus 5 plus 8.5, that is 21.5, 12 plus 7.5, so this is how the total cost is calculated. Further, we have the units that are given in the question. Very good, Mohammed. Very good, Tanvi. The units are given in the question straight away. That is 4,000, 3,000 and 1,600. So we can calculate the total cost. That is 4,000 into 21.5, 3,000 into 32.25 and 1,600 into 33. So this will be 52,800. Very good, almost 3,000 into 32.25. So this will be 96,750. So this will be 86,000. So this is how the total cost is calculated. And this is what you guys have learned in overhead. So if you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your query. So this is what the traditional approach, or we can say this is the process what you have learned in overhead, wherein since the cost of material, labor, and direct expenses are incurred separately, we can easily identify it. But what about the costs that are incurred as a whole? We call it as overheads. So these overheads are charged to these three products using absorption, using the technique of absorption. So herein the basis of absorption is what we herein the labor hours. So we have calculated the rate per labor hour, and accordingly we have charged these overheads. That is, by using these absorption rate, we have charged these overheads to these three products to calculate the total cost of A, B, and C. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries now. It is 96,750, my dear. Now let's start with the next part of the question. So first part is over now. Second, moving towards the second part, wherein you have to prepare a statement for the management showing the product cost of each product using ABC costing. Now, this is the cost as per traditional approach. Now, the question is asking that use ABC costing and again, calculate the cost of A, B, and C. Again, we have to recalculate the cost of A, B, and C, but using activity-based costing. So let's start with the second part. Herein also we have to calculate the absorption rate. So calculation of see now in traditional costing we calculated only one absorption rate. That is the total overheads divided by the basis of absorption. We have got this absorption rate as 17 rupees. Now in activity-based costing, see there are three activities that are given. So for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption and three absorption rate will be calculated. So herein, we have to prepare a statement. Always follow this pattern. I assure you guys, examiner will not deduct even 1 mark. So follow this pattern to solve the question. So statement showing calculation of absorption rate. So first write down the activities. What all activities are there in the question? Material handling, storage cost, and electricity. Material handling, storage cost, and electricity. So these are the various activities of the organization. When talking about the cost relating to these activity, it is 29,100 for material handling, 31,200 for storage cost. And when talking about electricity, it is 39,150. So these are the costs relating to these three activities, and the total will be the same, that is 99,450. So these are the various activities of the organization. These are the costs that are relating to these activities. Now, very important. Next, we have to do is what? We have to identify the basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. अब आपको एडिशनल एक्सरसाइज करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, क्योंकि इस हर एक्टिविटी का जो कॉस्ट ड्राइवर है उसके सामने दिया हुआ है. सो व्हेन टॉकिंग अबाउट the cost driver, the material handling activities overheads will be absorbed on the basis of weight of material handled. So weight of material handled when talking about storage cost, it is number of batches of material. When talking about electricity part, it is number of machine operation. Now, when talking about the weight of material handled, it means what? The quantity in kgs. So see, herein, the raw material requirement is given that for every unit, 4 kgs, 6 kgs, and 3 kgs is required for A, B, and C. So let's calculate the weight of material first. So for A, the weight of material will be 4,000 units into 4. That is 16,000. For B, it will be 3,000 into 6. That is 18,000. And for C, it is 1,600 into 3. That is 4,800. So the total will be 38,800. So herein, the weight of material handled is 38,800. So my absorption rate will be 29,100 divided by 38,800. So it will be 0.75. Now, when talking about the second part, that is storage cost, it is to be absorbed on the basis of number of batches of material. So see, herein the batches of material is given in the question. Herein the number of batches for material is given in the question. See, for complete production, the batches of material are 10, 5, and 15. So total batches are how much? 30 batches. So this will be 1040 per batch. Further, when talking about the next activity is electricity, wherein it is dependent upon the number of machine operation. Further, when talking about the number of machine operation, it is given per unit of production. See, the number of machine operations are given per unit. So we will calculate the total number of machine operation. will calculate the total number of machine operation. So it is 6, 3 and 2 for every unit. So 6 into 4,000 units, that is 24,000. 3 into 3,000, that is 9,000. And for this, it is 2. So 1,600 into 2, that is 3,200. So this will be 36,200. So this is 1.081 per machine operation. So herein, as I said, for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption, and for every activity, a separate absorption rate is calculated. So since there are 3 activities, so 3 absorption rate is calculated. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries. Again, those who want to copy this explanation, again, the explanation is given in the study material, but I have solved it in much easier way. So those who want to copy this explanation can please copy. Giving you 2 minutes time, guys. I'll be erasing this part, so I want you guys to copy this explanation. Shivam sir, how you calculated machine operation? See, when talking about the batches of material, see, read the question carefully, Shivam. Sorry. When talking about the batches of material, it is given straight away, it is for complete production. But when talking about machine operation, it is given per unit of production. So total for every unit is, it is 6 machine operation for A, 3 machine operations for B, and 2 machine operation for C. So it is for every unit. So there are total 4,000 units of A. So 6 into 3 into 2. I hope your query is resolved. I'll be discussing with the help of a question. So it is 4,000 into 6, 3,000 into 3, and 1,600 into 2. This is how I got 3,200. Mr. Parvez. I hope your query is resolved. Acha, Parvez, the weight of material. Again, when talking about the weight of material, it is given in the question. See, when talking about the units, it is 4,000, 3,000, and 1,600. So into the weight of material, it is given in the question. See, read the question, Parvez. When talking about the weight of material, it is 4, 6, and 3 for A, B, and C. 4, 6, and 3. That is the quantity required per unit of material, per unit of product. I hope it is clear, Parvez. So we are done with the calculation of absorption rate. See, in traditional system of costing, as I said, there will be only one basis of absorption. So we calculated the absorption rate and we applied that absorption rate to calculate the cost of product. But herein, there are three absorption rate. So we will apply these rates separately to calculate the cost of product. So let's start with the calculation of total cost. We have the units, that is 4,000, 3,000 and 1,600. Now let's calculate the total cost. We have the material cost per unit. So material cost per unit, we can easily calculate it. In fact, we have calculated also. So material cost is 5, 7.5 and 10. One second. Sorry, material cost is 8, 12 and 6. The rate we have already calculated using traditional system. When talking about the labor cost also, we have calculated that 5, 7.5 and 10. We call it as the prime cost also. That is 8 plus 5, 13. So let's calculate the total. So 13 into 4,000. So this will be 52,000. It is 58,500. Now let's take the overheads also. So first one is material handling cost. When talking about the material handling cost, it is 0.75 per kg. And we have the kgs also, that is 16,000, 18,000 and 4,800. So for A, it is 16,000 kgs into the rate per kg is 0.75. For B, it is 18,000 kgs and the rate is 0.75. And for C also, it is 4,800 kgs and the rate is 0.75. So this will be 12,000. This will be 13,500. And this will be 3,600. Further, the storage cost. When talking about the storage cost, it is dependent upon the number of batches of material. So when talking about the batches of material, it is 10, 5 and 15. So 10 into 1,040, that is 10,400. 5 into 1040, that is 5200, and 15 into 1040, it will be 15,600. The last part is electricity. Again, when talking about electricity is 1.081 for every machine operation. So 24,000 into 1.081. So this will be 25,944. I'm just writing it directly. So we can easily calculate the total cost now. 1 second, guys. So we can easily calculate the total cost now. That is the total of material and labor is 52,000. Overheads are 12,000, 10,400, and 25,944. So it is 1,00344 for A. I have taken the round figure, my dear. So 58,500 plus 13,500 plus 5,200 plus 9,729. So this will be 86,929. Next is 25,600 plus 3,600 plus 15,600 plus 3,459. So this is how we have calculated the total cost. So see, in traditional costing, सीधे के सीधे सारे overheads एक ही basis पे absorb करते थे. So herein we used to get the directly the overheads. But herein, when activity-based costing is there, there are 3 absorption rates. So we have to make 3 calculations separately. So when talking about the per unit cost, if we divide it by number of units, we will get the per unit cost. So this will be 30.16. So this is the way you guys have to solve the question. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post. Waiting for your queries, guys. Those who want to copy the solution can please copy. Very good, Priyanka. Very good, Mohammad Parvez. Anyone else with any doubts or queries? Waiting for your queries, guys. Miss Priyanka Malkede, in most of the question, the production overhead will be given. Further, if not given, then some sort of information will be given in the question as regards the production overhead. Anyone with any doubts or queries, guys? Per unit. So the total cost divided by units. So 1,003,444 divided by 4,000 units. This is how I got per unit. 86929 divided by 3,000 units. 28.98. 48259 divided by 1600. I have got 30.16. Anyone else with any doubts or query? So when talking about activity-based costing, you have to follow a particular pattern. See, generally the question will ask you to calculate the cost as per traditional approach and the cost as per activity-based costing. So first thing, calculate the absorption rate. First thing, solve the question as per traditional approach. So in traditional approach, first calculate the absorption rate and then prepare the statement of cost. Then move towards activity-based costing. When talking about activity-based costing, this statement you have to prepare in every question. हर क्वेश्चन में आपको ये स्टेटमेंट तो बनाना ही पड़ेगा. That is my activity, amount, cost driver, units, and absorption rate. So once we are ready with the absorption rate, again we have to prepare statement of cost. So absorption rate calculation and statement of cost in both traditional and activity. In traditional, there will be only one absorption rate. And when talking about activity-based costing, the number of absorption rate depends upon the number of activity. If you guys have any doubts, or those who want to copy the explanation can please copy. You can speak up also, Pawan. Tell me, what's the query? Pawan Kumar, when talking about the weight of material, see 38,800 kahan se aaya? See, it depends upon the weight of material. See, we are manufacturing 4,000, 3,000 and 1,600 units respectively for A, B and C into the weight of material. That is, one unit require 4 kgs. एक यूनिट बनाने में 4 किलो लगता है, B का एक यूनिट बनाने में 6 किलो लगता है और C का एक यूनिट बनाने में 3 किलो लगता है. ये इंफॉर्मेशन आपको क्वेश्चन में गिवन है. आई होप इट इज क्लियर नाउ, पवन. Any doubts? Isha Maheshwari, Vijeta, Vaishnavi. Eight to 10 marks. I request you guys to please at least copy the statement and this explanation. This explanation is the key. The solution is there in the study material, but again, the presentation is a bit different and it is much more easier. So I request you guys to please copy this explanation. So I repeat again, guys, first calculate the absorption rate as per traditional system and statement of cost. When talking about ABC also, prepare the statement to calculate the absorption rate and then again the statement of cost. It's up to you. You can consider it 2 decimals also. Both the approaches are correct, Bhuma. So fine. Let's take a break of 15 minutes. I'll be back after 15 minutes with one or two more practical questions. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. Admin sir. Sir, uh, We are done with the basic question. Let's discuss one more question of study material. Again, it's a very easy question. So I request you guys to please open your study material. I'll be discussing one more question from study material. So let's start with question number. Let's start with illustration number 3 from the study material, that is ABC Limited. I request you guys to please open your study material, page number 5.24, illustration number 3. Let's start with page number 5.24, illustration number 3. So ABC Limited manufacture two types of machinery equipment, Y and Z. Illustration number 3, Priyanka. ABC Limited manufactures two types of machine equipment, Y and Z, and absorb overheads on the basis of direct labor hour. So currently they are absorbing all the overheads using direct labor hours. The budgeted overheads and the direct labor hour for the month of December are given. So the budgeted overheads and labor hours are given straight away. Further, the information about the company's products are as follows, wherein equipment Y and Z, the budgeted production volume, the direct material cost per unit, the direct labor cost per unit. These details are given. Now, ABC Limited overheads of 12,42,500 can be identified with three major activities. So herein also there are three activities, that is order processing, machine processing, and product inspection. Further, these activities are driven by the number of orders processed, the machine hours worked, and inspection hours respectively. So activity is given, और कौन सी एक्टिविटी का क्या बेसिस ऑफ अब्जॉर्प्शन होगा वो भी स्ट्रेट अवे क्वेश्चन में गिवन है. सो नो नीड टू अप्लाई एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ कुछ भी दिमाग लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Straight away the activity and the cost driver relating to an activity is straight away given in the question. Further, the data relating to order processed, machine hours worked, and inspection hours are given. Now, when talking about the requirement, the question is asking us to calculate. See, assume use of direct labor hour to absorb apply overheads to the production. Compute the unit manufacturing cost of the equipment Y and Z if the budgeted manufacturing volume is attained. Second point, assuming use of activity-based costing, you are required to calculate the manufacturing cost. Further, the third part, ABC Limited selling price are based heavily on cost. So by using direct labor hour as an application base, calculate the amount of cost distortion, that is undercosted or overcosted for each equipment. So they are asking us to calculate the difference in cost, and you have to say that it is undercosted or overcosted. So let's calculate. Let's start with the first point, wherein we have to calculate the cost as per the traditional approach. So herein, when talking about the first part, we will first calculate the absorption rate. Again, we are following the same process that calculate the absorption rate as per traditional approach. So the total overheads are 12,42,500 and the hours are 20,000. So we can say that the rate per hour will be the rate per hour will be 12,42,500 divided by 20,000. 62.125. So the absorption rate will be 62.125. So we can easily calculate the cost now. So we have to prepare the statement of cost. Where in particulars, further there are two products, that is Y and Z. So when talking about the material cost, it is given straight away, that is 300 and 450 per unit. When talking about the labor cost also, it's given 450 and 600 per unit. Further, when talking about the overheads, it is 62.125 per hour. Into the number of hours for Y, it is 3, and for Z, it is 4. So 62.125 into 3, that is 186.375. And for Z, it is 4 hours. Further, if we want to calculate the total cost also, we can easily calculate. The units manufactured are given, that is 2500 and 3125. So my if you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post. Very good, everyone. Anyone having any doubts or queries, guys? Now we are done with the cost calculation as per the traditional approach. Now let's proceed for activity-based costing. Again, we'll be following a simple pattern. First, we will calculate the absorption rate. and then we will prepare the statement of cost. So let's start with the calculation of absorption rate. So first, when talking about the activities, it is given in the question: order processing, machine processing, and product inspection. Order processing, machine processing, and the last one is product inspection. When talking about the total amount, also it's given, that is the breakup of 12,42,500 is given, that is 2,10,000, 8,75,000, and 1,57,500. As I said, for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver of that activity. When talking about the cost driver, see again, it is given straight away in the question. That is, for order processing, it is dependent upon the number of orders processed. Number of orders processed. For machine processing, it is machine hours worked. And for product inspection, it is the inspection hours. Now the data relating to number of orders processed, machine hours, and inspection hours are given in the question. So see, order processed, the total orders processed are 600. When talking about the machine hours worked, it is 50,000. And when talking about inspection hours, total inspection hours are 15,000. So we can easily calculate the absorption rate that is the total amount divided by the units. Very good, everyone. So 2,10,000 divided by 600. So this will be 350 per order. Eight lakh 75,000 divided by 50,000. So it will be 17.5 per hour. Per machine hour. And it will be 15 lakhs. So it will be 105 per inspection. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. Priyanka, please recheck your calculation. So now let's start with the preparation of statement of cost. Our space is the constant, so I'll be raising this part. Those who want to copy this explanation can please copy. Or better take the screenshot, guys. So let's start with the statement of cost as per ABC, wherein when talking about the number of units, it is given in the question. When talking about the number of units, it is given in the question, that is 2500 and 3125 units. Material and labor cost is given. That is 300, 450. 450 and 600. So the prime cost we have is 750 and 1050. If we multiply this cost with units, we will get the total, that is 750 into 2500. 18,75,000. Now let's start with the overheads part now. The first one is order processing. It is 350 per order, and the order processed orders processed for Y, it is 350. So 350 into 350. So this will be 122,500. See, it is 350 per order, and order processed in case of Y, it is 350, and in case of Z, it is 250. So 250 into 350, that is 87,500. This is 350 into 350, and this is 250 into 250. The next cost is machine processing. It is 17.5 per machine hour. So 17.5 into total hours worked in case of Y, it is 23,000. So this will be 4,02,500. And this will be 472,500. Next is product inspection. It is 10.5 per hour. So this will be 42,000. And this will be 1,15,500. If we divide it by number of units, we will get the cost per unit. That is 976.8. Again, I'm following the same pattern, guys. Again, I'm following the same pattern. When talking about traditional approach, calculate the absorption rate and prepare the statement. When talking about ABC, prepare this statement, calculate the absorption rate, and again the final statement of cost. If you guys have any doubts or queries in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys, now. Very good, everyone. Yes, Gayatri. So let's start with one more illustration again from the study material. Let's start with illustration number 4. It's a bit lengthy question, but again, the solution is very easy. So let's start with illustration number 4. So illustration number 4, page number 5.27. So हमारा अपना बैंक offer 3 products. So there are 3 products: deposit, loan, and credit card. So herein we are preparing the statement, I mean, for this banks. So हमारा अपना bank offer 3 products, that is deposit, loans, and credit cards. The bank has 4 activities for detailed budgeting exercise. following activity-based costing. So there are 3 products, and again, there are 4 activities. So 4 absorption rate will be calculated. Now the bank want to know the product-wise total cost per unit for the selected activity so that the price may be fixed accordingly. So the following information is made available to formulate the budget, wherein the first activity is ATM service. When talking about the ATM service also, the costs are given, wherein machine maintenance, it is 4 lakh, rent, it is 2 lakh, currency replenishment cost, it is 1 lakh. And estimation, this is the present cost. Now, we have to calculate the budgeted cost. So estimation for the budgeted period is given, wherein when talking about the machine maintenance, it is fixed, no change. Rent, it is fixed, no change. When talking about currency replenishment cost, it is expected to be double during the budgeted period. So this cost will be double in the budgeted period. When talking about the second activity, it is computer processing. Rupees 5 lakh is the present cost. Now, when talking about the budgeted period, the information is given, wherein half this amount is fixed and no change is expected. Okay. The variable portion, that is the balance 50% portion, is expected to increase to 3 times the current level. Okay, so when talking about the fixed portion, it is 2,50,000. The variable portion, it will be 3 times. Further, the cost driver is also given, that this activity is driven by the number of computer transaction. So the activity is given, the amount, some hints are given to calculate the amount. The drivers are given, that is for this activity, this will be the driver. Now let's move towards the third activity, that is issuing statement, wherein the present cost is 18 lakh. Further, presently 3 lakh statements are made, and in the budgeted period 5 lakh statements are expected. For every increase of 1 lakh statement, 1 lakh rupees is the budgeted increase cost. Again, the hints are given. We can easily calculate the budgeted cost. Further, when talking about the cost driver for this activity, it is given that this activity is driven by the number of statements. Further, the last activity, as I said, there are 4 activities. So computer inquiries, the cost is 2 lakh. And when talking about the estimated to increase by 80% during the budgeted period, so again, the computer cost will increase by 80%. And this activity is driven by the telephone minutes. Further, the number of ATM transaction, the number of computer processing transaction, the number of statement to be raised, and the telephone minutes, everything is given in the question. The bank budgets a volume of 58,000 deposit account, 13,000 loan accounts, and 14,000 credit card account. You are required to calculate the budgeted rate for each activity, the budgeted cost statement activity-wise, and compute the budgeted production cost per account for each product using first and second. So let's start with the calculation part. So we have to prepare a statement. One second, guys. So let's prepare the budgeted rate for, we have to calculate the budgeted rate for each activity. So let's calculate the budgeted cost first. So let's start with the various activities. We have to calculate the budgeted cost. So when talking about the ATM service, The machine maintenance cost will remain unchanged, that is 4 lakh. Rent will remain unchanged, that is 2 lakh. But the currency replenishment cost 1 lakh will be expected to be doubled during the budgeted period. So it will be 2 lakh now. So machine maintenance, it will remain fixed, that is 4 lakh. Rent, it is 2 lakh. No change. Further, when talking about the currency replenishment cost, it is 1 lakh and it is to be doubled during the budgeted period. So 8 lakh will be the total cost of ATM service. When talking about computer processing, the next activity is computer processing. See, when talking about computer processing, half of the amount is fixed and no change is expected. The variable portion is expected to increase to 3 times the current level. So when talking about the fixed part, it is 2,50,000, that is the fixed part. And when talking about variable part, it is 3 times of the current level. So that will be 7,50,000. So the total cost will be 10 lakh. Now, next is issuing statement. When talking about issuing statement, presently 3 lakh statements are made in the budgeted period. Presently 3 lakh statements are made. Further, in the budgeted period, 5 lakh statements are expected. And for every increase of 1 lakh statement, 1 lakh rupees is the budgeted 1 lakh rupees is the budgeted increase. So the cost will increase from 18 lakh to 20 lakh. Currently, the cost is 18 lakh, and for every 1 lakh increase, there is an increase in cost by 1 lakh. So the increase in number of statement is by 2 lakh. So the additional cost will be 2 lakh. So the total cost will be 20 lakh. The next one is the computer inquiries. The total cost for the present period is given, that is 2 lakh, and estimated to increase by 80% during the budgeted period. So 2 lakh plus 80%. So this will be 3,60,000. So this will be the total overheads for the budgeted period. ₹41,60,000. See, the overheads are not given in the question. So some information is given in the question. So we have calculated the overheads. So if you guys have any doubts in this calculation, you guys can please post your query. Giving you 2 minutes time to post your queries, guys. Rohan saw it was basically the undercosted or overcosted. That is the difference in cost, my dear. Jayendra Pokhale, again the same thing. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Since the overheads were not available with us, so we calculated the overheads. Now, let's calculate the absorption rate. I'm following a uniform pattern for all the question, but yes, in this question, we have the present overhead, but budgeted overheads, again, we have to calculate. So this is the additional calculation what we have done. Now, herein there is no traditional or activity-based approach. Straight away, it is activity-based costing only. So we will start with the calculation of absorption rate, wherein the first column will be my activity. That is the ATM service. The second activity is computer processing. My third activity is issuing statement. And my fourth activity is computer inquiries. When talking about the total amount, we have the total amount with us. That is 8 lakh, 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 3,60,000. The next step is what? My cost driver. So when talking about the cost driver, again, the information is given straight away. So for ATM service, it is number of ATM transaction. For computer processing, number of computer transaction. For issuing statement, again, number of statement. For computer inquiries, again, it is on the basis of telephone minutes. Now the next column, units. And the last one is absorption rate. So मैं सारे questions एक ही पैटर्न पे कर रहा हूं. When it comes to traditional approach and activity-based costing, traditional approach, absorption rate, statement of cost. Activity-based costing, again, the statement to calculate the absorption rate and the statement of cost. Now in this question, the overheads were not given. So we have to calculate the overhead. So this is an additional calculation since the overheads were not available. Now, when talking about the number of ATM transaction, it is given in the question. That is 1,50,000 plus 50, that is total 2 lakh are my ATM transactions. When talking about the number of computer processing transaction, it is 15 plus 5, 20 lakh. Further, the number of statement to be issued is 5 lakh. I'm writing the total straight away, 5 lakhs. Further, when talking about the telephone minutes, it is 360 plus 180 plus 180. This will be 7,20,000. Now everything is ready. We can easily calculate the absorption rate. So 8 lakh divided by 2 lakh. that is 4 rupees per transaction. 10 lakh divided by 20 lakh, that is 0.5 per transaction. 20 lakh divided by 5 lakh, that is rupees 4 per statement. And 3 lakh 60,000 divided by 7 lakh 20,000, that is 0.5 per minute. So now we are done with the absorption rate calculation. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your query. Okay, so Pratidnya and Julie Singh, issuing statement is not clear. So 1 second. So see, it is given in the question that the current cost is 18 lakh. When talking about the issuing statement, the current cost is what? My 18 lakh. My current cost is 18 lakh. Now see, it is given in the question that presently 3 lakh statements are made. Abhi hum log 3 lakh statements bana rahe. In the budgeted period, 5 lakh statements are expected. So currently we are printing, currently we are issuing 3 lakh statements, and in the future we will be issuing 5 lakh statements. That is additional 2 lakh statements. Now see, for every increase of 1 lakh statement, 1 lakh rupees is the budgeted increase. Matlab ki for every 1 lakh extra statement, the extra cost is 1 lakh. So additional statement issued are how much? 2 lakh. Additional cost will be how much? 2 lakh. So 18 lakh plus 2 lakh. This is how I got 20 lakh. Julie Singh, Pratidnya, any doubts? Priyanka, any doubts? Yes, Priyanka. Rest, anyone having any doubts or queries, guys? So again, since the overheads were not available, अब तक जो हमने 2 question किए थे उसमें straight away overheads given थे. But in this question, the overheads were not given. So we have prepared this statement to calculate the overheads. This statement may or may not be asked, but yes, this statement you have to prepare in every question. Rest additional working notes will form part of your answers. Anyways, so we are done with the calculation of absorption rate now. So let's prepare the statement of cost. So let's prepare the statement of cost now. Wherein there are total 3 products, that is deposit, loans, and credit cards. So particulars. Deposit, loan, and credit card. When talking about the number of units, we can say it is 58,600 deposit accounts.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bipin, Dr. Sengupta this side. I would like to speak for a few minutes here.
Yes,
good morning.
Please.
Good morning, dear students. A few of the things of this chapter, just a few minutes I may brief. That many times we have seen that when you are calculating the cost driver rate, sometimes the cost driver you are not taking correctly. Okay. And how after calculating the cost driver rate, you have to again distribute the overheads. So there are steps which you should be following, like sir has explained it to you, and just see that very systematically you follow all this process, all these steps. So if there is a mistake in any of the step, your overall calculation will go wrong. So many of the time we have seen that your cost driver rate is not calculated correctly, and many time identification of the cost driver also is a problem. So as explained by sir, very systematically you follow the process, and you practice varieties of questions in activity based costing, because this is a chapter from where different kind of questions may come. So there are certain questions which is given in the study material. There are certain questions which sir has done in the class, and RTPs and MTPs of the first few terms. All you can practice, because sometime even for one overhead, one particular cost, there may be multiple overhead, multiple cost driver. So there was a question in the RTP also. So you kindly practice all varieties of questions so that you are fully prepared for any kind of questions which comes in the examination. If there is any doubt, you may ask sir. I am also there online, so we can reply. Kindly continue, sir.
Thank you
Vipin
so
sir,
much,
kindly
sir.
continue.
Thank you so much for your contribution, sir. So as sir said, that there are few questions wherein we need to identify the cost driver. See, till now we have discussed 3 questions, and in every question straight away it was given that for this activity this is the cost driver. So guys, there is one more session on activity based costing wherein we'll be discussing few questions wherein we have to figure out that किस activity का कौन सा cost driver होगा. So in the coming session I'll be discussing few more questions wherein we have to do some exercise to figure out that किस activity का कौन सा cost driver होगा. Anyways guys, let's proceed further. So when talking about the units that are given straight away, that is 58,600, 13,000 and 14,000. Now again we will distribute the overheads of ATM service, computer processing, issuing statement, and computer inquiry. In the same way we discussed in the previous 2 questions. So see, everything is given in the question. See, I'll be distributing the overheads of the ATM service. So it is ₹4 per ATM transaction, wherein the ATM transactions are given, that is 1,50,000 in case of deposit. So 1,50,000 into 4, so 6 lakh for deposit. Further, there are no ATM transaction for loans, so nil. And then for credit card, it is 50,000 into 4, so this will be 2 lakh. So rest you can do it on your own for computer processing, issuing statement, and computer inquiry. Everything is given in the question. You have to distribute the cost. You have to calculate the total cost, and thereafter, don't forget to calculate the cost per unit, because the question is asking us to calculate the cost per unit. So guys, even though the solutions are a bit lengthy, but yes, trust me, it's a very easy chapter. The point is you follow the steps. Read the question carefully, read each and every line thoroughly, and then start following the step. As I said, that in traditional approach, the first thing, calculate the absorption rate and then prepare statement of cost. Then move towards ABC. Again, this statement you have to prepare. That is, you have to calculate the absorption rate of the various activities as per ABC, and then again, the statement of cost. So this is all what about the basic part. We'll be discussing few more trickier questions in the coming session, that is on Thursday. I request you guys to please revise what I have discussed in today's session, plus try to solve few questions of study material. First solve the questions what I have discussed in the class, then solve all the illustration, and then you can proceed for some practical question. I'll be discussing few more practical questions, at least 3 to 4 practical questions in the coming session. So till then, do revise what I have discussed. Come prepared for the next session. So guys, thank you so much for your time and patience and for your active participation in the session. I want you guys to come and join this Zoom meeting instead of watching it over YouTube. You can ask your queries, whatever the queries you have, whatever the doubts you have, any conceptual queries, any queries, relating to how to approach a question, whatever it is, just come, post your queries. These classes are conducted for your benefit only. So Whatever the queries you have, you guys can put up. 1 second. No, Priyanka. I'll update you in the coming session, Priyanka. So thank you so much, guys. Take care, guys. God bless you. And yes, do try to solve few questions in writing. Thank you so much, guys.